It's a goddamn cougar in the car.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is our
And we
first.
back, and we back
Oh, you always got to interrupt me in the fucking intro. You're such a
always.
dickhead. Uh, this is our
But I
first.
never want to do the intro though.
Yeah, I know you always make me do it, which I don't like doing, but someone has to be the grown up here. But now, for the
Clearly,
third
yeah.
time, I am trying to say this is our first episode post draft, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do a quick little mock draft. We're going to give you some of our winners and losers, just talk a little bit about the draft, obviously. Before we get into the mock drafts, obviously, both last time we talked, I was in Thailand, but Alex also has some big news as well, welcoming his second child.
Yeah,
Congratulations,
man.
man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Athena Sage. I'm not a stoner. Well, I used to be. But hold on, let me get a quick picture up here. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, she has your big ass nose. That was the first
Yeah,
quality I recognized. It's
listen,
like
she does, right?
very wide.
She's 4 days old and can beat your ass already. It's kind of
There
shitty
you go.
camera
That's a
quality,
little
but
better.
those are my two babies right there.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
How's the older one acting? Like, how's she feeling about being a bigger sister now?
She's cool. I mean, she has her moments. She almost wants to help too much.
Right.
She's like in her face, and I'm like, bro, you gotta chill. You gotta
Yeah.
chill. But
I
no,
hope you
she's a
and
great big sister, and man, it's crazy. It's crazy,
Yeah, I hope you enjoy your hair while you have it, because when you have two teenagers in the house,
dude.
whew, oh
I
boy, I
know, man.
feel for you already.
Nah,
But let's get
not
back.
yet. We got some time, but yeah.
Yeah, let's get into the draft though. Let's not keep everybody waiting. So, just from our initial reactions, who are some of your biggest winners, either like team wise or player wise? We'll obviously get into some details specifically once we go into the draft part of it. But who are some of your biggest winners and losers of the draft? Like I said, either
Um,
team or player. So you don't have to like be specific yet, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I got a couple. So this is a little one, but I think DeAndre Swift is a winner. I
Really?
think he needed to, yeah, man. I think he needed to change of scenery. The Eagles are going to use him. I think it's going to be a similar role, but I think he'll be appreciated there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you got two injury plagued running backs with him and Rashad Penny. So, he's definitely going to get some play time. But I mean, you go from the Lions, who, I mean, granted, they do have a good team, to the team that just lost the Super Bowl, So definitely a team upgrade for him. Another winner, kind of random, but Desmond Ritter. I mean, they didn't bring in another quarterback.
Yeah.
They've been doing everything to fortify the team in general, which it's he's a winner, but at the same time, he's definitely going to have to prove it. He's definitely going to have to bring it now. You've got Bijan, Kyle Pitts,
Right. He has no
Drake
excuse.
London. There is
No excuse.
no excuse
Yeah.
whatsoever. So
He's
they
an
put him in the
interesting
best
player.
position.
He's an interesting player
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, if you invested into him in like your third round last year in rookie drafts, and then you're in like say a super flex league, you might be feeling pretty okay right now, especially if he pans out. But I was never really a big fan of the player, but I do
no,
love what they're doing at least to set up their future quarterback, what I believe,
yeah,
to for success. Because I mean, you have
yeah,
Bajan, you're walking into Bajan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. They also have
yeah,
Mac Hollins, who's a big body guy out
yeah,
there, so they got some weapons for whoever that young quarterback turns out to be. But
exactly.
one of my biggest winners, and just so you know, I'm not being a homer because I've done my research, and pretty much every single person in the
Here
NFL
we
agrees
go.
right now. The fucking Seahawks, baby. Let's
I
go.
knew you were gonna
Let's
say that.
go. Let's go. I was so excited that night on the draft. Actually, it was the morning for me because I was in Thailand. So it was like 7 a.m. And I thought I was going to get in trouble because I was screaming, fuck yeah, at 7 a.m. in my hotel room whenever they drafted. Well, the Devon Weatherspoon, I was excited, but like I wanted Jalen Carter, but like, I mean, Pete Carroll.
Nah, I think y'all needed Devon Witherspoon.
No, I mean I totally get it. Like at the time, I guess I was a little kind of held back from it because I really wanted Jalen Carter. But like, dude, Pete Carroll's compared him to Troy Polamalu, and honestly, Devin
Yeah.
Witherspoon may have some of my favorite tape in this year's draft. So extremely
I
excited
didn't watch
about
a
that.
lot of tape until he was drafted, and I was like, oh, he's a dog.
Yeah, like
Like
no, he's
he
legit.
fits what Pete Carroll wants.
He's
Obviously that's why he went and grabbed him, but
Yeah, big, aggressive guy. So like him and Tariq Woolen are going to be
instinctual.
very, very interesting next year. That's like a
Yeah.
young, dangerous cornerback duo. But then also you come around and you get Jackson Smithland Jigba. Man, best wide receiver in the draft. And then not to even mention, I mean, this is kind of terrible for fantasy, but it's better for real life. Zach Charbonnet,
Yeah.
could have, easily been an RB2 or RB1 last year, behind Ken Walker or Brees Hall, like
Yeah.
possibly
They
some
said if
having
he
a
came out last year, he would have been easily top 3.
yeah, so like easily, and he was easily top 3 this year as well. So like he's a very great runner. Love what Seattle did in the draft this year. I hate that they drafted Zach Charbonnet because I mean, if you guys been watching us
All
for a
your Ken
while,
Walker shares, man.
yeah, I mean, from a fan perspective, I love it. Obviously, it's just, I mean, but from a fantasy, oh my god, that it fucking sucks. But I will
Yeah.
say we talked about this a little bit, and we'll get into this a little bit later once we get into like the actual draft part and we see where Zach Charbonnet falls in the sleeper rookie draft that we have going. But it's not something that you can really necessarily get excited about if you're a Ken Walker fan or if you wanted to draft Zach Charbonnet. But in my
Right.
situation, particularly, I don't think it's something to where you need to just like sell all of your Ken Walker shares. Where I do have a good amount of Ken. I have well, I say good amount. Well, I mean, I guess that is good amount in 2 of my 4 dynasty leagues, so that's 50%, obviously. But
Yeah, this is probably the least you'll get for him right now. I think when you come around to the season and you see him still being Ken Walker, his stock
right,
will go back up. But just the shock. Everybody with the draft, everything sways one way or another. So,
yeah, no, and we
once everything
talked
calms down, it'll be good.
and we did talk a little bit about this. Honestly, I think it's a little bit more philosophy when it comes to like why they drafted Zach Charbonnet. It was more about philosophy than it is with talent. Kind of like how the
Yeah,
Patriots always are. Because you've been trying to
yeah.
sell Ramondre Stevenson for fucking years now, and no one wants him because no one trusts the Patriots. Everyone,
But another winner of the
yeah,
draft to me. You swore to me they're going to get Jameer Gibbs or Bijan, or
I
they
didn't
didn't take anybody,
swear. I thought it was
bro.
very possible though. I didn't
That's
swear
why
to
you.
that.
That's why you were off of trading. We were first of all. You're talking about me and Ramondre. You've been trying to trade me for Ramondre for a minute, and we
I
couldn't get
wouldn't
it
say
done.
that. I
Yeah,
told you, I
I would,
told you if Ramondre didn't get another running back in his in like
and he didn't.
New England, then I would trade a first round pick for him, which I ended up not doing because I traded that first round pick for someone else.
Who did you trade it for?
Chris Olave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's Chris Olave.
Yeah. So I mean, I
But
was
so real quick, Geno Smith to me might be the biggest winner of the draft because they brought JSN in and another,
yeah,
Zach
and did
Charbonnet,
not
who is a
draft a
better receiver out
quarterback.
of the backfield and didn't draft a
Yep.
quarterback. Got help on defense, massive. I mean, like when your top 3 receivers pretty much would be number ones on most teams or like a 1A, 1B type of scenario. DK is easily going to go be a 1A, 1B with any receiver, even if it's Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Garrett Wilson, he would still be a 1A, 1B type of scenario, dude, right? Tyler Lockett, maybe he's getting a little bit older, but to me, he has that same type of potential.
He
He's
was
still
top.
a fucking
Yeah.
beast.
He was top 10
And then you
last year,
get
I'm pretty sure.
JSN. Yeah. And then you go get JSN, and really it's just an embarrassment of riches. And kind of to me, you're just getting ahead of Tyler Lockett being gone. next year. I think his contract is over after this season or something like that, right?
I hope he stays. As a Seahawks fan, I would love to see him retire in the Seahawks jersey, but I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
But
I
even if
would.
he goes from the number 2 this year to the number 3, and JSN becomes the clear number 2 receiver next to DK, to be honest with you, I feel like JSN could end up being the number 1 in a Cooper Cup esque role uh, for the Seahawks. I mean, he's a precision route runner, which DK is not. Gino is. I think I don't picture him as a I'm trying to chuck it deep all the time type of quarterback. Like he's trying to get those intermediate short routes
Right.
and work his way down the field. And to me, that's the perfect offense for JSN to be in.
Yeah, no, the Seahawks are definitely. I mean, they're a team to watch. Like
Yeah,
the what was it? I think 2013 Seahawks. Is that the year they went to the Super Bowl with the Russell Wilson?
something like that.
Like
Yeah,
that, the years of the Legion of Boom look like they're heading back. I mean, they're not
yeah.
gonna just have their game manager, they're at least their game manager who performs clutch, hopefully, in Geno Smith, and then they're gonna
But
go
my
ahead.
bad, my bad.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I was gonna say I could see this being like the 49ers too, where every piece of your offense and defense has an elite player, an elite unit, except Gino.
Yes, but the difference with that is for one, Geno is pretty stable. He hasn't missed a lot of games, but
Jimmy G or
also
Geno Smith?
right now, probably. I mean, that's a tough one. I guess I'm gonna be a homer and say Geno, but
Right.
I could see someone saying Jimmy G.
I would say based on last year, you would say Gino, right? But if we
Yeah,
take a 3 to 5 year sample size, it's clearly you're going Jimmy G way.
right.
And the 49ers defense, I would say, is better than what the Seahawks defense is right now. We'll see what happens, right? Because you guys obviously have some great pieces, but I don't know. Shout out to B Wag signing back with y'all.
Boy, I was excited about that one too.
Man,
Man,
he should have
it's
never left.
he shouldn't. It just makes sense that he came back home and literally Quandre Diggs was recruiting him the entire offseason. You knew it was
Yeah,
gonna happen. So I'm very excited as a Seahawks fan and honestly, just as a football fan, I think that's exciting to see like that kind of
yeah.
stuff. But let's go ahead and let's transition into the draft so we're not here for
Let's
four
get into it.
hours. Let me start screen sharing. How do I do that? We should have figured this out before I did it.
You're the maestro. You should have figured it out.
I have never claimed to be any sort of maestro. Start share. There we go. I don't know if that's it. Guys, forgive us. I'll edit this shit out, I guess. What the fuck? How do you do this? I did it last time. Hold on.
I mean, then start recording again.
All right. We figured it out. We'll fix that in the edit. Hopefully. Bear with us, guys. Okay, we're back. We're here. We made it. Thank God. We're I promise I did go to college. I am not a total idiot. So let's go ahead. Let's start this draft. Now, I don't think anything was expecting to change. 101, Bijan Robinson after the draft. Now, one thing about him going to Atlanta, I love that landing spot. Say what you want
Yeah,
about, Arthur Smith and that offense. He knows what he was doing whenever he knew what he was doing when it came to like getting Derrick Henry going back in
yeah.
Tennessee. So he
I was gonna
had it.
say he
Yeah,
wanted his Derrick Henry.
yeah, he had his superstar running back and he built an offense around it. So that's something that you want to see as a Bijan owner. So what I would do right here in this super flex league, I've seen a lot of people go Anthony Richardson, but honestly, it's hard to really do that. Let me pause this actual what you call it or
The
timer,
draft
sorry.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh But I've seen a lot of people go Anthony Richardson, and I totally understand that just because the upside is so much higher. And I do love the fact that he has Shane Steichen right there. But to pass on Bryce Young is really hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Bryce Young, even though I can totally understand people in the comments just disagreeing with me and saying that he's just going to be, I should have went Anthony Richardson. Sorry, that was distracting. But I should have
Why don't
went
you make it full screen?
full screen what? The draft?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a sloppy episode, guys. Well, just bear with us.
Hey, you were in Thailand. I just had a second kid. We're getting through it. Bear with us. We're real people.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pause that again, actually.
So yeah, pause that because I just want to say real quick, if you're anywhere to me in that top 5 or 6 teams, depending on, well, I would say exclude Bijan Robinson at number one. If I already have like so personally me, I have Joe Burrow. So in
Right.
a super flex league, you know, I have my consistent star. What I'm looking for in a second quarterback is somebody with crazy upside. And to me, that's Anthony Richardson. Now, if I don't have a quarterback at all, say I'm starting, shout out your boy Gino, he's a little bit older, can be inconsistent, and Jimmy G, like you need somebody who is young and going to come in and be a star. And to me, that's where I would go Bryce Young, where I need somebody kind of steady. Or if I have like a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson, somebody who has the rushing upside, the big boom potential upside, I'm going for a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud because I feel like you're going to get more consistency out of them than Anthony Richardson. But Anthony Richardson might come out and be the, you know, number one quarterback in a few
Yeah.
years if he can really put it together.
No, for sure. And I totally agree with that line of thinking. My side really of it is just whenever I'm drafting a second quarterback, I go for the guys that I just personally who I would have in my rankings. I know at that early, and like I said, I mean, I've seen this from a lot of people where you're taking the upside of Anthony Richardson over Bryce Young. But for me, it's hard to just pass on somebody who looks as good. He literally has everything you want except for the weight in Bryce Young. So that's just
Yeah.
hard for me to pass up on for someone that I feel is just such a surefire player. And, as I
Yeah. I
am
don't think
pretty
you can really go wrong.
no, I don't either. And just for anyone in the audience, if you do take Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson first, I don't think anyone in your league is going to look at you crazy,
Right.
at least as opposed to first quarterback is what I meant, not 101. If you do pass on Bijan, people might look at you crazy. But
Right.
now, when it comes to that, though, I think CJ Stroud is pretty easily the third quarterback just because even though he is probably one of the more safer ones looking into the draft, because he has everything you want. He has a great arm. He has the height. He has the physical tools. He's also probably like the least sexiest, in the term to put it.
Yeah.
That's why he was the number 2 quarterback. Is just because he didn't do anything really great, but he did everything very well. I mean, and a lot of people compared him to Jared Goff
Right.
for that reason, and I kind of agree with it. But that is a quarterback that could lead you to a Super Bowl clearly in the right situation.
Clearly. Yeah.
So, and
Before we get moving and rolling through the rest of these picks, just real quick to add to that, I think to me, CJ Stroud is the only one where if you already have a solid quarterback or a solid set of quarterbacks, he's the first quarterback to me that I'd be willing to pass on in a super flex league.
right,
Like, I don't think if I'm at 102, 103, to me, if I'm not picking Bryce Young, I'm picking Anthony Richardson. If I'm not picking Anthony Richardson, I'm picking Bryce Young. At 4, if you don't pick CJ Stroud and you go with a JSN or a Jameer Gibbs because that's what your team needs, um, to me, that would be the only quarterback of these 3 where I'm like, I would fade him a little bit over one of those guys.
Right.
I actually say that because I have the 105 in our main league, League of Legends. Um, and I'm in that spot where if somebody ahead of me takes JSN or takes Jameer Gibbs, CJ Stroud might get kicked to me because I don't imagine it's going to be AR or Bryce Young. So the decision is, do I want whoever's left out of Gibbs or JSN or CJ Stroud? And I'm probably going to take the player over the quarterback.
Right. No, I think at that position, especially with the way that you've built your team, you could usually go best player available. And when you're
Yeah.
drafting that early, I think it's usually good to just go best player available regardless.
Yep.
Because that's where I feel like a lot of people do mess up when it comes to the rookie drafts is they're kind of reaching for need. You don't want to
Right.
reach for your needs in rookie draft. You really just want to obviously if you in a super flex league, if you have two quarterbacks and you're picking third overall and you have another quarterback there and that's your best player, I'm not saying you have to take them. You're picking that early. You still have a lot of other great
Right.
players available. But usually in like I would say the 5, 6, 7, 8 range, once you're getting to like that, that's where you want to just, hey, take your best player available, regardless if it's not a need, it's a luxury at that point, and you could usually trade that player either for more draft picks in the future or maybe for another solid player.
Yeah.
So that's
Especially right after the draft. They
right.
have so much value because they haven't done anything wrong on the field. You see their landing spot and everything, so it's easy to be like, hey, look, I've got Will Levis. He went to the Titans. He's going to be taken to sell it. Hey, he's going to the Titans. He's going to be taking over for Ryan Tannehill next year. You need a quarterback with upside. I'll sell you Will Levis for, a wide receiver 2, RB2, something like that, plus a pick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, so I think that's definitely. I mean, I agree with you. Go best player available, even if it's not your number one need at the time.
So, really quick before you do make your pick, though, one last thing I wanted to say is when it comes to these wide receivers, man, honestly, I think that 6 through 9 spot is probably how it's going to go in like 90% of the drafts where they're going to go.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think you can make an argument for any one of those wide receivers, maybe with the exception of Jordan Addison to go first. Zay
Yeah.
Flowers, it could be the wide receiver 1 on that team. Quentin Johnson, I won't see he'll be the wide receiver 1 right away, but he's on a prolific offense and he has 2 older wide receivers. So he could be the
Keenan
wide
Allen's
receiver
getting
1.
old.
Yeah, and
Mike
has some
Williams
health.
getting old.
Both of them
And he
have
has
health
Justin Herbert.
issues. Yeah, and both guys have health issues too. So that's a big thing. And obviously with
Yeah.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's gonna be the third wide receiver on that team for this year. But you just talked about by next year, he may be that number 2 wide receiver. Hell, I wouldn't.
I think by the end of this year, he ends up emerging as the number 2 target. I mean, dude's just got elite measurables. He was the best receiver on an Ohio State team with CJ Stroud, Chris Olave,
Right.
Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. all on that team. He was the best receiver that was there. Obviously, we've seen what Marvin Harrison became this year, and JSN was injured, but he was clearly the best receiver there. Dude is got phenomenal hands, phenomenal inside and out running the routes. And really he kind of runs. He's not going to kill you down the field, but to me, Devontae Adams wasn't a killer down the field. He didn't have that crazy deep speed,
Right.
but he can make the adjustment to the ball. He hands catcher and great route runner, so he knows how to be in position
And
to
you see,
get you.
my comp was CD Lamb, but I like the Devontae Adams ones too,
Yeah,
because I mean, they
yeah.
are very similar style of players. I say CD Lamb no, just because I do think he'll live more out of the slot than what Devontae does. But Devontae has played out the
So
slot before too.
Devontae is not my comparison for him. I like what they do as far as not being burners and the route running ability. But you know who my actual comp for him is, and I think it's perfect, is Jarvis Landry.
I think he could be a little
Ron,
better than Jarvis, but I think that's
no,
probably
no,
a
no,
safer one. Yeah.
better than Jarvis in my opinion. But remember when Jarvis came out, him and Odell were making shit shake, bro. I mean,
Yeah. No, for
had like the
sure.
most catches to start a career, or something like that, or top 5 most. With just putting
I
catch
think
after catch after catch every year.
I
So I
think
think that could be
Jarvis
him.
Yeah, no, I think Jarvis is a really good floor for him. If that's what you're getting
Yeah,
and you're drafting him at your 106 and you're getting at worst a low end wide receiver one at or I mean I think at worst a wide receiver two, sorry, at best a low end wide receiver one in like what Jarvis Landry was in the early parts of his career. Dude,
yeah,
you're gonna take that, especially for like what I think that was probably 6-7 years he produced like that. So yeah, you're
yeah. He's a beast.
100% taking that. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and I'm gonna start the draft again. Let's go ahead and make let you get your pick going. So right now we have Dalton Kincaid, we have Will Levis, Zach Charbonnet, Devin A. Chain, and Kendre Miller, Michael Mayer, Jonathan Mingo. Who are you going to take at your 110 spot?
So just so I'm not messing up the screen on my end, I'm gonna look at it from my phone. So a couple different ways. If I'm, you know, at the 110, I mean, you're at the back end of the first. To me, it's still a little too early to go Will Levis, although I wouldn't fault anybody who needed it at the back end. Say you
Especially in
just won your league
Superflex.
or something. Yeah, yeah, especially in Superflex. Say you just won your league and really you're stacked. You don't really have a whole lot of needs on your roster, and you're just going to throw in Will Levis. I mean, I think that's a great pick. Zach Charbonnet here, I think, would have been the pick had he not gone to the Seahawks, in full honesty. Um, and I think this is probably the earliest tight end that I'm going to take. And I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid. Uh, Dude, just watching his tape and the way he plays football, man, it really is um, it's insane. I mean, he looks like a wide receiver, and to me, they didn't draft another wide receiver, so I think it's more of an indictment on what's his name, Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
You know, that experiment has been okay, not great, but okay.
just okay.
And
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid's going to work the middle. He's going to work the seams, and he's a beast. We've seen him. Just let's put it this way: just put on the film, check PFF, check whatever you want. There's really not going to be anybody who knocks anything he's done. Um, from that position, and you're going to an offense where I believe that they want him to stop running. You know what
Right.
I mean? They want Josh Allen to stop running. They
No,
want
of
him to be
course.
pitching the ball. So they went and got him, to me, who at the time was the best pass catcher on the board, out of the draft, regardless of position. I think he was
No,
the
I mean,
best
I
pass catcher on the board at the time. So,
100% agree. And I love that pick. And Dalton Kincaid's actually one of my biggest winners coming out of the draft, just purely of,
oh, yeah.
position fantasy wise. Cause, a lot of people said that they saw shades of Travis Kelce in his game, and
Yeah.
obviously when you're making comps,
That's
a lot,
lofty, but
yeah,
yeah.
lot of people love to make lofty comps like that. But honestly, if you're ever going to see that come to fruition, I think he just got into the perfect landing spot. I really do. Because
Fruition,
whatever, shut up. You're not a fucking English teacher.
fruition.
uh,
Oh, boy.
you're not my English teacher. Shut up.
What
But
a special breed.
yeah, well, that's what we do down in Louisiana. Um,
Mm. I heard those schools are A+ down there.
Oh, they're great. But now when it comes to Dalton Kincaid, though, I do really love him in the Bills landing spot just because when we look back, and I saw this tweet actually a little earlier today, is whenever Josh Allen had Cole Beasley, do you remember how much he targeted Cole Beasley back in the day? Like
Yeah.
I don't I should have
Even
went
when Stephon Diggs was there.
yeah, and I should have went and screenshotted it because I knew I was going to want to bring it up on the podcast. But I think when they converted that, like how much his targets converted that to what it would rank at the tight end position, it came out as number 5, number 2, and number 6, I believe. It was like all top 6, like, and it was like very elite numbers. So what you're
Yeah.
gonna
And that's the
have
role he can take plus more.
100%. And what you're going to have when you're the Bills, they're going to be running a ton of 12 personnel. They're going to be able to run the ball. They have Latavius Murray, Damian Harris, 2 bigger backs. And then they're going to be able to use James Cook what he's good at, and that's pass catching and being that explosive playmaker. While you're
Mhm.
going to be able to line up Dalton Kincaid in the slot, you're going to be able to have him and Dawson Knox on the field. Now, saying this,
Right.
I do think Dawson Knox is a little bit of a loser in the draft, obviously. But I
Yeah,
mean,
but he's not going anywhere either,
no,
though, to be honest.
exactly. He's
Dude is
not
a
going
good run
anywhere.
blocker, a good pass blocker,
100%
or
agree.
decent pass blocker, and he
But
can still make moves. He's
I
just not the elite receiver that Kincaid is.
exactly. So, but even what I was getting though is that even without Kincaid, I think Dawson Knox was at best like probably a tight end 2, who could give you some tight end 1 weekend sometimes, but more likely
Yeah,
was just a tight end 2. So
yeah,
with that, I don't even think he's really, I'm not going to say he's not draftable, if you're in like a deep league, but like
right.
if you're in a 12-team league, if you're in redraft or like maybe a startup dynasty league, I wouldn't want to touch him.
He's a for in redraft. He's a waiver wire pickup for me.
I don't even know if he's that for me. I think unless there comes an injury for Dalton Kincaid, and a lot of
Yeah,
people, and even like bigger names too, I've seen like Fantasy Flock all saying like, I don't understand why people are getting so high on rookie tight ends. And I understand that, you don't see a lot of production from rookie tight ends,
yeah.
but I think if we were going to see one, it's going to be from Dalton Kincaid in that offense. I think he's a very natural pass catcher, and they're going to want to utilize him
They took him that early for a reason.
exactly, and they're going to
I don't
utilize
see them
him,
taking him that early and not giving him the play time.
and they're going to utilize him as good as anyone in the league can, I believe, especially
Yeah,
when you want, like you said, you want to protect Josh Allen. You don't want him running as
right.
much. So let's move off of Dalton Kincaid, though. We had Will Levis, Zach
So,
Charbonnet.
which we talked about. Yeah.
Yep, Jonathan Mingo and Devon A. Chain, who that's a really interesting draft pick to Miami. I don't know if I want to invest early second round draft pick in him, me personally, just because of the
Yeah.
weight. But I can understand why you would. I mean, I think if he was going to work somewhere, it's probably going to be in Miami.
Yeah, he's Raheem Mostert 2.0.
Is
He's
Raheem
faster.
Mostert that small?
No, but a speed guy, a
Okay.
track guy. But that's the type of scheme that they want to run. I think that was the best landing spot for him to go to. We talked about Charbonnet earlier. I don't love the landing spot for him, but I still do. I would still probably take him, or I would take him before A Chain or any other running back in
Yeah.
this area. To be honest, there's maybe one other guy who I'm actually getting ready to draft, who I'd probably take above him at the moment.
Is
Jonathan
it
Mingo is going to be with
Kendra?
Bryce. Yep,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
I mean, I
Bryce
agree. I think
Young,
Kendra's great.
Bryce Young and Jonathan Mingo. He gets a big target out there for him. They invested some good draft capital into
Yeah.
Jonathan Mingo. So,
So
you actually talked about him at the Senior Bowl, right?
yeah, so that is one thing that I did want to say, because Jonathan Mingo, I just brought up Fantasy Flock. Jonathan Mingo's been getting a lot of hate on Fantasy Flock, and I understand the hate is kind of, I guess earned, like he didn't really wasn't a big performer in college. But one thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand when it comes to like the analytics side of football is that yes, it can be great, but it can also be bad in certain ways. Like now,
You can overanalyze.
oh yeah, and there's a difference between looking at pure numbers and stats as opposed to watching someone with your eyes. Now, and I did was thankfully able to watch Jonathan Mingo with my eyes, and I watched him manhandle, you know, pretty much every defensive back at the Senior Bowl. Now, we didn't have Devin Witherspoon there. We didn't have Christian Gonzalez there, but Darius Rush was there, Cam Smith, Emmanuel Forbes was there. No, wait, Emmanuel Forbes is a junior, I think. I don't know, but there was pretty much most of your top corners in that got drafted were there. And I watched him manhandle all of them. And I even sent you a couple of them, and we posted a couple
Mhm.
of them in our shorts, and you can go check those out in our playlist section if you want to see some Jonathan Mingo highlights. But he's a big man. And I'm not going to say that's going to help him in the NFL because everyone's big in the NFL. But I think if he's going to learn how to be able to refine his route running somewhere, I think you'll be there because I love the
Yeah.
offensive staff that they have surrounded there. It's years and
He's in
years.
Carolina. Steve Smith's going to go help him out.
Well,
You
I
know,
don't
like
even know
Daniel
about that.
Jeremiah and them say, no, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, he's in
Yeah.
Carolina. Steve Smith is going to want to see his old team, you know, succeed. And I think having like Daniel Jeremiah says, a height, weight, speed guy, you know,
Yeah.
he's one of those athletic freaks that, you know, you want to make sure that you have
Right.
for a young quarterback. But we don't want to end up making an hour-long podcast on this again. So let's go ahead and move on. We
Yeah.
got Kendre Miller is who's going to be my next pick once you restart the
I'm
draft.
trying. There we go. I've pretty much accepted, by the way, that every episode we have is like 4 hours long. I think the
Yeah.
people will too. But
So not that we'll let's talk more about just our picks that we actually make and just kind of glance over the guys that go in between. So Michael Mayer, I love going to Las Vegas. To me, he's going to end up being like your boy from the Cowboys back in the day. Um, anyways, Jason Witten. So I
yeah,
think he'll end up being like him. Hendon Hooker going to Detroit. I think he is a sneaky pickup. Like if again, as we talked about with Will Levis, if we got somebody who, you know, doesn't have a whole lot of needs, I think Hendon Hooker is a great pickup. You know, you see him throwing to Jalen Hyatt. That could be him and Jamison Williams in the future. Roshan Johnson, I think, you know, he's
very
got
interesting.
man, he kind
I
of is,
I
you
love
know,
that landing spot. I really do.
look, I'm talking about the guys in between. I forgot to go over Kendre Miller. I think him and Kendre Miller actually have similar type of upside in the sense of by the end of this, they could be the starting running back by the end of this season.
100%.
You know, with Kendre Miller, we don't know what's going on with AK, Alvin Kamara, and Jamal Williams is. I mean, he's a try hard type of guy. He's got skill. I wish we didn't let him go in Green Bay because we took AJ Dillon and we could have taken anybody else. But anyways, we won't get into that part. But Kendre Miller's got speed. He's got size. You know, so I think he's primed to take over the lead role. If not this year, then maybe next year. Because Jamal Williams is on a contract that I believe they can get out pretty easily after this year. Going on, we got Tajay Spears, who
Mr.
Mr. No
No
ACLs
ACLs.
can't rip an A.
Jinx.
Yo, what you sent me earlier, can't rip an ACL that isn't there. I'm weak. But Josh
I do
Downs, I mean, he was an elite type of guy. Oh,
real
sorry, go
quick
ahead, go
though.
ahead.
No, no, yeah, just real quick. I do love Tajay Spears, like the landing spot. I wish him the best,
Yeah,
but I did want to say, like, I'm sure everyone has heard, but man, that's a tough player to invest in just because of the knee issues that are very likely going to come. His career might not be longer than 4 years, and that fucking
yeah,
sucks. Like, which is
yeah.
very unfortunate because he looks like a really good player. But
Look, fantasy football wise, you might be able to get what you want out of him for the next 2, 3 years,
yeah, but I think
or you may not. But
you would have to hope for a really quick Derrick Henry downfall, which I don't think will happen.
unless I'm desperate for running backs and there's a run of running backs and it comes to me, I think he's probably in the third round for me personally.
Probably me too.
Like
Or I don't think
the
you're
even
crazy
the
though at
three.
2-7.
No. I don't think you're crazy, but you know, to be honest, like if I'm looking at Josh Downs, Rasheed Rice, and Jalen Hyatt, I think I prefer all of them
Oh,
to
100%.
Tajay Spears right
I
now.
will take the possible number one wide receiver on a Kansas City led offense
Yeah,
any day.
he doesn't have great
Honestly,
measurables, but I mean, he's in KC with Pat Mahomes. It's like Sky Moore last year.
right. And
He
last thing that I'm gonna say before I make my pick, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say real quick.
just to touch on Josh Downs. I mean, Anthony Richardson's got a rocket arm. Josh Downs, for as small as he is a speedster and he can get downfield and got great body control. Jalen Hyatt is actually, I was watching something on him. He's already put on weight. He's already at like 180, and he said he's trying to get up to 190. And I think he's 6'2", ran a 4.4.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might end up being a better pick than we think in New York. he's somebody that, in one of our drafts, like I just took him in the back end of the second round because, I just think he has the ability. I don't, we'll see what he ends up being, but if he can get to 196.2, I mean, measurables wise, that's Justin Jefferson, and you know what I mean, that type of frame where he looks a little skinny, but he's a little bit thicker, still
Right.
got the speed. Not saying he's going to be Justin Jefferson, but that's the
Of
type of size
course.
that you're looking for.
No, of course. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, we'll see. I'm a little. We're not going to get into it really, but I'm a little iffy on Jalen
no,
Hyatt and Josh Downs from a fantasy perspective. I wasn't crazy about those landing spots, but yeah, I mean, Rasheed Rice, not
yeah,
huge on the player, but I mean, you gotta love that landing
you
spot.
can't knock
So
the. And that's the thing. Josh Downs too. You know, small guy, but is he going to be Paris Campbell, but better? Hopefully, we'll
we'll
see.
see. So what I'm gonna do with my pick, there's two players really that I'm looking at right here. And when that one thing that I will say actually, because I want to pause this because I don't run out of time. But one thing that I will say is this is actually the perfect time to start targeting your tight ends. I know Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid, you took him at 110 and Michael Mayer went at 2.4. And I think that is kind of a little early for Michael Mayer because that's when I will say I don't know if you're going to get really the upside you want year one. I think you'd probably be better taking him around the 206 or later range, maybe 207,
Mm-hmm.
just because I mean with tight ends, it's so hard to get that fantasy relevant. And I don't think you're
Right.
going to get two fantasy relevant tight ends as rookies. I highly
And
doubt
and
that's going to.
Roshan is I would take Roshan over Michael Mayer right now.
Exactly. So like I think Michael Mayer was a little high, but when you're talking like I said, 206, 207 or anything later right here, 100%. Take all the tight ends you want. Shit. You
Yeah.
can I would this is if you're gonna go into a draft and take multiple tight ends, this will probably be the one that you want to do it. Because there's gonna be a lot
Mm-hmm.
of good tight ends that you can get in round 3, 4, and 5. But what I'm looking at right here is Marvin Mims, Sean Payton's first wide receiver drafted when they definitely had a lack of draft picks and probably a lot more needs than wide receiver. But hey, he still was taken by Sean Payton. So that shows me something that shows that Sean likes him. He probably has a
Mm-hmm.
plan for him. And hey, maybe that means that KJ Hamler, Jerry Judy or Cortland Sutton will get traded, even though I don't think that's very likely, at least going into this year, just because I feel like if that was going to happen, it would have happened before the draft. So they can use those draft picks, obviously. But
Well, and they just picked up Jerry Judy's 5th-year option, so I think more likely it's going to end up being Cortland Sutton who gets moved.
Well, also, I mean, KJ Hamler is very likely too, former second round pick, even with Cortland Sutton. I think they would be smart to move both, honestly. They need the draft picks. But I do
Yeah.
love that Marvin Mims, and he's another one. He's a smaller wide receiver. I don't know exact height. I think he's like what, 5? Okay. I thought he's a little taller than I thought. I thought he was 5'9". But yeah, 5'11, 182. Really good player. I haven't watched a ton of film on him, but he's been getting a lot of love in the fantasy community. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the other player I would 100% consider right here and who I'm probably going to go is Sam Laporta. I've said this from the beginning. Ever since I saw him.
Iowa tight ends, man.
Yeah, man. And like this was a guy I saw at the Senior Bowl again that I immediately stuck out to me. And I texted you after the Senior Bowl and I said, dude, everyone at the Senior Bowl was great, but this guy specifically stuck out to me. And I remember saying that on our first ever episode, just because his speed, his athleticism jumped out. He was great at high pointing the ball. He's kind of like a smaller TJ Hawkinson. I don't know if TJ's like
Yeah.
taller than him or bigger, but like at least coming out of college, TJ
How tall
Hawkins,
is Sam Laporta?
let's see. He is 6'4". Oh, so maybe he's actually about the same height because I thought he was a little shorter than that. I thought he was like 6'2". But
Yeah.
6'4", 250, that's not bad at all, and he ran a 4.5 40. And this is on a very interesting offense, creative offense ran by Ben Johnson, one of the more highly thought of offensive coordinators. So I've pretty much just talked myself into it. I am going to go Sam Laporta right here.
Yeah. I don't think that's a bad move there. Yeah, I actually was hoping that Green Bay would take Sam Laporta over who we took, which was Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave just had a small sample size and was injury prone, and I didn't really love that we picked him. I kind of was hoping for a Darnell Washington or Sam Laporta, but hey, it worked out. Guy who went after Laporta, Jaden Reed, is somebody I'm actually really excited about in Green Bay. Um, Smaller type of guy, I think 5'10", 5'11", 180. Uh, but he's got the dog in him out of Michigan State, man. He just kind of he has that type of mentality. He had to work hard his whole life, and didn't get the love that whole time in high school. I was watching something on him, and I think he moved to a different school. Then he ended up with not a whole. He was a 3-star recruit. Ended up going to Western Michigan and then transferred over to Michigan State. So he kind of had, what you look for in a player is just he had to overcome some adversity. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love that pickup by us. He's somebody that type of realm back into the second, early third is who I'm looking where I'm trying to grab him. Darnell Washington. I didn't love the landing spot for him, man. They did need help, and I think they want to run the ball more with Najee, and I think that's what he's great for. He's a big body. But Pat Fryermuth is to me, he's the guy. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens there. You took Marvin Mims, which
So
I don't think you can go wrong there either.
yeah, so and before we go into Marvin Mims, because I mean, I was somebody I was considering, obviously, with my 211, so that's why I just went ahead and picked him because it was real easy for me. But I did think it was funny. I mean, I'm sure you people, I don't know if you saw me, but people at home watching definitely did. I started grinning because you saying how you were happy they took Jaden Reed. You lying son of a bitch. You literally complained to me the whole time after the draft about how the Packers didn't take the players you wanted.
Well, no, because so this, and I have a video of it that I was going to post, and I decided not to. But I just was in a shitty mood after we didn't take JSN. That was just,
And it made it even better
yeah.
that he's a Seahawk.
Look, bro, and yeah, and then he goes to the Seahawks. So I was just in a shitty mood, but I started watching Jaden Reed, and I actually am happy about his highlights. Lucas Van Ness, who we ended up taking, with our first round pick,
And he went 305.
but no, I'm talking about Lucas Van Ness, the
Oh, the DN. Okay. You still there? You're frozen, Alex. Alex. I think we lost Alex, folks. Alex. Well, looks like we lost Alex, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're going to go ahead and do until he comes back, we're just going to go ahead, finish the draft. I'm try to text him. We had some people come obviously throughout the draft. Darnell Washington, one thing that he was saying about that is that looks like Alex is trying to re-enter. All right, you back,
there we
Alex?
go.
Oh yeah, I was just about to go on without you. There we go. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah,
All right.
I activated your pick. I was gonna see if you just made it, and then I was gonna explain it for you until were able to get back on. But let me pause that again. But what I was saying before you guys came back is what Alex was saying is I'm obviously he was explaining about how he was a little petty fan and wasn't excited
100%.
about the weapons that Green Bay wanted, even though he said going into the draft, I just want them to draft weapons. It just wasn't the ones that he wanted.
No.
But what I was saying about Darnell Washington is I do agree with you is that that is not the best landing spot for him. And it was kind of shocking. I mean, I expected him to to be maybe a first round, early second round pick. The fact that he fell to the third round was shocking for me, but I guess
Yeah.
it wasn't really at the same time because he was looked at a very run heavy, like blocking type of tight end. So I do understand why he fell. I just wish it was to a different spot, but this is probably one of those that is a better football move than it is fantasy, because I
Yeah.
do think him and Pat Fryermuth are going to kind of, cancel each other out, which sucks because I was a big Pat Fryermuth fan. I don't have any shares of him
I was
anymore.
trying to buy shares of him all off season, and now I'm like, kind of glad some of those deals didn't go through.
Yeah, so I mean, I know you have him in one of your leagues, and Jay Cutler, right? Yeah, so I mean, I
Yeah.
might try to sell him if I'm you, honestly.
Yeah.
But I did go Marvin Mims because, like I said, that was very easy for me. Tank Bigsby, Chase Brown, those are both interesting. Probably both
And
nothing better than handcuffs, though.
look, Chase Brown, if we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with your boy out there. Oh man, I'm blanking right now. It's
Joe
late and
Mixon.
two kids. Joe Mixon, man. We'll see what happens with him. But I Chase Brown is somebody we liked after the combine. He's got some dog in him.
I wish him well.
So
Him and his brother have a very interesting story. So it would be awesome to see him, maybe if they cut Joe Mixon or trade him, whatever, that maybe Chase Brown can take over and be that guy. That would
yeah,
be an awesome story. So let's go
he's somebody.
ahead.
If I need a running back, I'm taking him over Tank Bigsby. I'm taking him over a lot of guys there.
Yeah, and we had three tight ends go, and we had Israel Bandakana and Zach Evans, which again, both very interesting, but one is going to be for sure a handcuff for Brees Hall, and the other one possibly a starter with Zach Evans. But do you have an idea of who you are going to take, or should I pause the timer?
I got 26 seconds. So just to touch on Izzy Abanikanda, I really liked him coming out. I didn't love him going to New York, but I could see him actually flourishing in the first part of the year as Brees Hall's getting started again. Zach Evans, I think he ends up being the starter there before the season is out. Oh, shit. Yeah, go ahead and pause it for me. My bad. There we go. But so we got a few guys here that I'm looking at this range. At the 310, to be honest with you, man, if I can get a few late round darts in the third, they're just guys that I kind of like when somebody gets drafted in the NFL draft in the sixth, seventh round. It's like I just don't really want to try and have to bid for him in free agency and to become an undrafted rookie. So Keyshawn Boutte, look, I hated his combine. I hated it,
I
but
don't love him in
who's
New England. I don't
I
love it.
don't. But he also doesn't have a load of competition. Tyquan Thornton, who you tried to give me pennies for, is there. He's a speed guy, but he's 6'2". Juju's there. I'm not a Juju fan at all, even though he had a decent season last season. He was also with Pat Mahomes. Now he's with Mac Jones. So we'll see how that goes. So I think Keyshawn Boutte, I think he has an opportunity to, I mean, not be anything more in fantasy than like a wide receiver three, to be honest, but we'll see there. Cedric Tillman was a dude I liked. I hate the landing spot in Cleveland,
I
but
actually like it.
I could see him going over DPJ. We'll see what happens. I'm also a DPJ fan, but they
That's
just
that's
got
why I like it, because I'm not a DPJ fan. I think he will eventually beat out DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, for those who don't know,
yeah,
for that starting role on the outside, while Elijah will play the slot, and then you have obviously Amari on the other outside playing the X.
yeah.
Or I think
We'll see,
yeah,
man.
yeah. But
So, I like him. I like the player, and I think I like him more than Jalen Hyatt if he had gone to a better landing spot. Deuce Vaughn, I think he's a better story than a player, but we'll see what happens with him.
yeah,
But I think
hater.
really I am
I'm
a
a
hater.
hater.
I think what we're looking at here more than anything is elite level handcuffs, right? So when we're looking at guys here, I'm looking
I
at a
know
guy like
exactly who you're about to take.
my boy
Yeah,
Evan Hull, baby. Go ahead
just
and start that
fucking
timer
take
so I
him.
can go ahead and I'm gonna take him right here. So Evan Hull is my dog, man. I loved him. He didn't have the greatest tape, but he also was. I mean, he's pretty solid. I forgot how much he came to weigh, but he ran like a 4.4. Oh, there we go. Ran like a 4.4, 5'11", 210. He's got the measurables to be a three down type of guy. We'll see what he looks like in pass pro. And he was a little tight. You know what I mean? He didn't have the shiftiness of all the other receivers, not or all the other running backs rather. But I think he's a great, excuse me, a great compliment to Jonathan Taylor. No, I'm not worried about Zach Moss. No, I'm not worried about Deion Jackson. Not worried about those guys. I think Evan Hull steps in to be. And by the way, I think he caught like more passes than any other running back over the last couple of years, um, coming out of Northwestern. So to me, he's a bigger in the role that he's going to play. He's going to be a bigger version of what they wanted Naeem Hines to do. So I really like him there. And I have Jonathan Taylor in one of our leagues. So he's definitely somebody I'm looking to pick up.
It's been your darling from the since the Senior
Dude,
Bowl.
we've talked about it from the Senior Bowl all the way throughout. The guy I keep coming back to.
If you don't get
Um,
him in at least like 2 leagues, I'm going to be very disappointed in you.
well, I already have him in one. Well, shoot, we ended up having to give back all of our waivers, but he was one of my main waiver wire pickups that I was looking for. So after Evan Hull, we got Cedric Tillman. I think that's a good pickup, especially to me. That's really a steal at the back of the third.
Yeah, I
Um,
probably would have went him over Evan Hall, but I understand why you obviously went Evan Hall. But yeah,
yeah. So being that I guess I think so much in terms of League of Legends, I'm going Evan Hull over Cedric Tillman in League of Legends because I am starting.
Jonathan Taylor, of course.
So, also, and then, I've got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Drake London, my top three guys. So I don't really need that fourth receiver, but I think he is a good pickup there.
I don't think Drake
Stetson
London.
Bennett,
I don't think Drake London
don't do
deserves
that.
to be in the
You
conversation,
just
but okay.
hold on. You literally just posted PFF's top dynasty wide receivers. Drake London was like number 8 or number 9. So don't do that. Okay. Don't post it if you don't mean it. And he was on there. So you shut your dirty mouth. Um, so
Touche.
Stetson Bennett, I actually like at the back of the third. Uh,
Especially in
Stafford,
Superflex.
yeah, dude, and we'll see what he's gonna be. Dude's athletic as hell. He's a proven winner. And I think he's definitely a guy that they can rally behind, even if it's a shit season. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, Tucker Kraft, I think, is going to actually be a better tight end than Luke Musgrave. But I do like that we double dipped on the tight ends. Again, it's not the ones I want, but I do like that we did do the double dip because um, it gives you two shots to have somebody be a star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've done it a lot. We did Josh Jackson and Jair, Demarius Randall, and and somebody else I can't remember right this moment. But we've done it a lot where we double up on talent because we know somebody's going to emerge. But if we're being honest, man, the draft is a crapshoot outside of like the top guys, like the Bijans and the Bryce Youngs and guys like that. So um,
I would
Tucker Craft.
No, I was just gonna say I would like to point out. I know you like rambling about your Green Bay Packers guys, but you said in the last round, let's keep it to just our picks, and you've been going on about Tucker Craft, what's his face, Bennett and Tillman.
I have not been going off about him. You were going on about Tillman. Anyway, Mallory's decent. Coming around for my next pick.
Come on, hurry up and pick Kayshawn Booty because
Oh,
you hate short people.
no, I don't want Kayshawn. Go ahead and hit resume.
Who are you picking? If you pick Deuce Vaughn, I'm gonna slap you.
I'm not going to. I'm gonna go with Tank Dell.
I like it. I like it.
Look, do I think I could have gotten him a little bit later? No, because you pick twice before it comes back to me. But to be honest with you, he's a guy that I really, we talked about him since the Senior Bowl and everything. I think he could be a who was the running back out of Chicago
Which one?
that ended up getting injured. Little guy, but he's fast as hell.
Tariq Cohen.
Tariq Cohen. Wait, oh, you bastard!
What?
My boy Michael Wilson is who I was going to go with on my next pick.
Well, I'm just taking the best player available. So go ahead,
No,
continue.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But we'll see who comes around. But this is where maybe in the third, fourth round, I'm trying to trade something small and grab a couple of picks because I would love to get Sean Tucker. I think he's got an opportunity in Tampa Bay. Michael Wilson, I love going to Arizona. I think he's could end up being one of the better receivers out of this draft. I think he's a good, solid wide receiver too if he can stay injury free. We'll see what
Just gotta
happens.
stay healthy.
Yeah, Tyler Scott going to Chicago. I think he has an opportunity out there as well. Um, did you want to go ahead and talk about Kayshawn
Yeah, so I did want to just
and
really
Deuce
mention,
Vaughn?
yeah, I did just want to mention my two picks, obviously, because I mean, I think it was pretty easy that I was going to pick Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah,
And with in between really the picks that we had, there wasn't anything really worth mentioning. Just really, I guess, a bunch of backup
yeah.
quarterbacks. It looks like, and
Clayton Tune, Tanner
yeah.
McKee.
I mean,
Yeah,
the tight ends are like we said, they're all worth mentioning. Even Latu in San Francisco, who could be a good backup for Kittle. You know,
yeah.
Davis Allen is also really interesting in the Rams. Maybe takes over for Higbee. I didn't know they drafted two tight ends. Who's this guy? Is this Bruce Willis? No, I'm just kidding. It's not Bruce Willis, but but to go on about Deuce Vaughn and not get distracted by Bruce Willis, I really do like Deuce Vaughn. I know I called you a hater, and I understand why people would
Braden Willis.
Braden Willis. There we go.
Yeah,
I understand why people would allow Deuce Vaughn to fall to the 411, but this is just a guy that I feel like I'm gonna come away with in almost every rookie draft I can. Honestly, it's just because I saw him, and again, I've always been like this. I'm a big believer in my eyes. And I am not Daniel Jeremiah. I'm not Bucky Brooks. I'm not any of those professional scouts, but I am pretty confident in what I see usually means like, hey, if that player is good, I think he'll translate. And I'm not going to say, and you actually just brought him up, Tariq Cohen, like I think he could be that type of player, especially in an
I
offense
think
like
he's thicker than Tariq Cohen too.
I'm not sure. I would have to look that up. But he is 175, and Tariq Cohen was a small guy. He was 5'6", Deuce Vaughn's 5'5". I think if Deuce Vaughn is going to work anywhere, it's going to be with the Cowboys. It's an amazing story. His dad is a
With his
scout for the
dad.
team.
That's so
Yeah,
cool, man.
got to draft him. That's such an awesome experience for just that whole family to be able to say
Bro,
that they can do that.
did you see the video? He's like, his dad called and was like, "Are you ready to come to work with me?" I was like,
Hmm. Yeah,
I saw it after I just had my kid too. I'm like, oh my God, man, pull
yeah.
at your heartstrings. That's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
And not only is it a great story though, but this is a kid, he played well, man. Like he had a
Yeah,
dominant BMI when it came to his production at K-State, and he dominated in the what was it, the Sugar Bowl, I think, when they played Alabama. I mean, they got their
yeah.
asses kicked again. I've said this plenty and plenty of times on this podcast. They got their
Did he have
asses
like
kicked.
200 yards or something? Though?
It wasn't 200, but he had like 150, 130 in between there,
Yeah,
like something yards, and maybe even more when you count like his all-purpose yards, because that was just his
yeah.
rushing yards. So this is a guy who is explosive, who in the right system can be used very well. And I think honestly, with Tony Pollard there, I still am hesitant because I do think they'll bring in another running back, but if they don't, or at least they don't bring in anyone really of name, or even if the person they bring in possibly flames out because it's just an older guy, man, Deuce Vaughn is in a position to where he could be the perfect change of pace, Tariq Cohen style back to a Tony Pollard. And then you have these two electric playmakers out of the backfield. And as much as I hated on Brian Schottenheimer when he was with the Seahawks because he downgrades your passing game dramatically, he knows how to run the ball. So give him credit there. Motherfucker knows how to run the ball. So I think
Deuce Vaughn, didn't draft another running back, did they?
They did not. That was the whole point. Yeah, Deuce Vaughn is the only running back they drafted. They obviously cut Zeke, and they have not signed anyone else besides Ronald Jones. So I am very confident that Deuce Vaughn will be able to beat out Ronald Jones in training camp for the RB2 touches if it's just him and like some maybe unknown undrafted rookies that they bring in, or I don't even know if Malik Davis is still on the team, but like still. So I'm very confident in that. And I think Deuce Vaughn, if he is Tariq Cohen, that's obviously his best case scenario, but like still that's an awesome player. Tariq Cohen looked like he had a bright future until he just had some terrible luck with injuries, and it wasn't even because of his weight. My dude tore his ACL, and then as he was coming back from a torn ACL, he tore his Achilles. That's literally 2 non-contact injuries. So like that's just unbelievably terrible luck.
Tariq Cohen was bigger than I thought. He was 191 pounds. Good Lord.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, I did not know that.
Me neither.
So maybe Tariq, but I mean, maybe he'll have to put on more weight. So that's one thing you'll definitely, I guess, suspect, especially coming from K-State, because it's not like K-State's Alabama where they have this world-class weight program. Get him in an NFL weight program.
K-State, shout out to your boy, Jordy Nelson, who you made me. Oh, no, I didn't have his jersey. I had Jair's on earlier, but yeah, Jordy Nelson, K-State, baby.
Yeah, but also Darren Sproles, another K-State guy.
Yes, sir.
But I think once you get him into an NFL weight program, he could be an interesting player. Now, to go ahead and wrap this up before you take your last pick, I'm just going to say a little bit about Kayshon Boutte. I only took him because, in the 5th round, hey, I'll take that swing. This was a former, I think, 5-star player coming out of high school. And it's crazy that you're still banking off of high school stats, but hey, he had a phenomenal freshman year at LSU, didn't do shit since then. So I'll take the swing. Hopefully maybe the Patriots can get one wide receiver right in like the last 15 years. So let's go ahead and let's get out of here. Who are you taking for your last pick?
So I'm stuck between 2 guys, really. Maybe 3. So Xavier Hutchinson in Houston, big dude, 6'2", 207 pounds. We'll see what he looks like getting CJ Stroud, who's a precision guy. A.T. Perry for the Saints. I think that's a good pickup there. Puka Nacua, who I think is in the perfect landing spot going to the Rams. I think they're the type of team that can take advantage of what he can do. But I'm going to go be a homer. We're talking about in the 5th round. I'm going to go with Dontavius Wicks out of Virginia. And he's 6'1", 206 pounds. He had a couple of injuries himself before, before he was kind of looked at as one of the better receivers in the draft. And he got some injuries, had a little bit of a down year. But I think there's some development that can be made. I think he's the type of dude that, Green Bay, we're not on the Steelers level of, getting things done, with developing wide receivers. Obviously, we got the offensive lineman on lock, but I think he's just an intriguing late round guy that I'm just looking to stick him on my taxi squad and see what he becomes. But in all reality, am I taking A.T. Perry over him? Probably.
Yeah. But I think A.T. Perry.
But I like the homer. Solid. I like the homer pick with Dontavius Wicks there at the end.
Hey, A.T. Perry might even be a guy you can get off waivers because you only had 2 picks. And we don't have kickers in this league. So, I mean, at least in our league, in the league that we are in, they do have kickers, which is why kickers keep getting projected.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, you might be able to
Which
get
I think
him.
we should get rid of kickers, by the way.
What, in J Color 6?
Yeah,
Well, I'm not the commissioner.
in any league, but
Well, oh yeah, I mean, I agree. But yeah, so to go ahead and wrap things up though, I did want to talk about a little bit of some of our favorite guys heading into waivers, but it looks like it won't let us look at that. So I did just want to mention A.T. Perry, guy from Wake Forest. You know, that's a player I really like. And then Bryce Ford Wheaton, West Virginia, another big guy, 6'4", I think 220, ran like a 4.38 or something like that. Really great 40 time. So just those are a couple guys that obviously you can get in your waivers as well that will, hey, maybe you can stack them on your taxi squad and they end up turning into a weekly start player. Maybe not a weekly start player, or just a spot start is what I meant to say, you know?
yeah.
So that's some of the things
Some of
that
the
you,
guys that I can see, sorry, I just was able to pull it back up. Xavier Hutchinson,
there we go.
Kenny McIntosh, A.T. Perry, Trey Palmer. I actually don't hate him going to Tampa Bay. Mike Evans is going to make his way out. This dude's 6 foot, 192, decent. Um, Lou Nichols, running back that we picked up late rounds, wasn't a huge fan of that. Darius Davis going to the Chargers, Puka Nacua, like I mentioned. People have liked Keaton Mitchell going to Baltimore. I mean, it's a Baltimore running back, so why not throw a dart at him?
Right.
Mohammed Ibrahim, 5'8", 203, solid as a rock, going to Detroit. So he's somebody who people have talked about as well. Um, I don't want to go over the whole thing, but Andre Iosivas going to the Bengals. Justin Shorter, 6'4", complete opposite of his name, 6'4", 223, going to the Bills.
Yeah.
So
No, so
some of those
there's,
guys are just like, hey, grab them, throw them on your taxi squad. Um, Old Dominion, Zach Kuntz,
oh,
going to the
that's a big
Jets,
one.
throw him, yeah, grab
Yeah,
him off
that's a big
waivers.
one.
So
100% take him. That's literally one of
yeah,
the most athletic tight ends we've seen in the history, probably, of the NFL, at least in combine.
I saw something. It was, I forgot who tweeted it, but it was a stat saying that his combination of speed and athleticism, he's the most athletic tight end that we've probably ever seen.
Yeah, no,
And
like
that's including your boy in Atlanta.
I posted this in our community page, so make sure you guys are checking that out. But I posted that his RAS score ranked number 1 all time in the history of the NFL, at least since that stat has been taken. So,
Yeah, what was it, 9.9 or something?
no, it was a 10, straight
Was it
10.
perfect 10?
Yeah, it
Holy
was a
shit.
straight 10, dude. So
Yeah.
literally
He's
crazy.
inconsistent, got to work on his hands and route running, but he kind of reminds me of a bigger, faster Luke Musgrave. If you watch Luke Musgrave's tape, he runs kind of odd, I guess. Like
Yeah.
you don't see him with a whole bunch of yak where he's like smoothly like in and out of breaks and making people miss. Like he seems to get tripped up or lose his footing a lot, and it's kind of annoying, which is why I was mad that we took him. But anyway, I'm not salty.
Yeah. No, I mean, but Zach Kuntz is a real interesting guy. That's probably one that I would want to scoop up on any waivers that I can get, honestly, just
For
because of how
sure.
much of an athlete he is. And
Yeah.
honestly, the path to targets isn't crazy either. I mean, they have Jeremy Ruckert. They also have Tyler Conklin, who played well, but those aren't like world beaters
CJ
that,
Uzoma.
yeah, I mean CJ Uzoma is more of a blocker at this point in his career,
Yeah.
but
I liked CJ Uzoma with the Bengals. I was kind of surprised they let him walk, but maybe he just wanted too much bread, but I don't know.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, just the path to targets though for Zach Kuntz is there. You know, like those are guys
Yeah.
that you could see getting their job taken. You know, it's not like a guarantee that they're there. But that's what we have for our post draft 5-round rookie mock draft. Maybe next episode we'll do an actual startup mock draft, or we'll actually go into our rankings. There's a ton of things we can talk about as we get closer to obviously training camp. You know, rookies are there. We can actually do a whole bunch of different episodes now because, I mean, football is here, you know, like the NFL draft is officially the start of the new season, guys. So anything that you do, you'll probably have some drafts coming up if you haven't done some already. Like Alex said, we already had one draft. Well, he had the draft. Technically, I traded all my picks away. Literally,
would you make one pick towards the end?
I didn't make a single pick. I traded all my picks. I mean, so just so you guys know, this is just like a little free fun league. I would have never done that in a league where I'm paying money. But yeah, it's whatever. But you may have some drafts going on right now. If you do, this is something that you would probably really like to see, is these little mock drafts. But this is obviously something that's going to change throughout the year as well. You'll have players rise, you'll have players fall. I mean, last year going into the training camp, we had James Cook rise all the way up to 105 in some drafts, you know, and look how that turned out. So you're going to have things fall. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs falls a little bit, and like we said with the wide receivers, maybe that changes and they just go all over the place. Maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba rises, you know, maybe Quentin Johnston rises due to like an injury or something like that. So there are all kind of things that can happen, but make sure you're paying attention. Obviously, it's that time of the year. Things are starting to get going. So all your rookies, all your veterans, we're setting up for success in the 2023 dynasty season. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Comment as well. Tell us what you thought about the NFL draft. Who are your winners? Who are your losers? Who are your favorite sleepers? Who is just some players you fucking hate? I don't really care. Just let us know in the comments. And,
are you like me and you hated your team's draft in some ways, but also loved it because somehow, some way we end up being all right? You know, just let us know from every aspect. Do you hate? Do you love?
So you're just an emotional little bitch like Alex. Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. So,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I'm very in touch. Okay. that's what we say nowadays. I'm in touch.
And hey guys, if you're like me and you're a Seahawks and you're a Saints fan, I mean, I got my Saints gear. I didn't mention them much during this podcast, but hey, I actually like their draft as well. A.T. Perry's a solid pickup in a late round. They went more defensive heavy in this draft besides Kendre Miller, you know, so really not much
Great
fantasy
pickup to me.
Yeah, really much not fantasy to talk about besides that, but Kendre Miller is very, very interesting player to look forward into in your dynasties. But again, guys, make sure you're liking and subscribing. We'll eventually get an editor, so whenever I'm pointing at something, I'll actually say like and subscribe. But until then,
shout out to A-Rod, baby.
Yeah, shout out to A-Rod. You need to go get a Jets jersey. But until then, just
I'm getting the black number 8.
A black number 8, really?
Yep.
Yeah. That's gonna be tight, actually.
Yeah. By the way, Elijah Moore was number 8 for the Jets. They got him out of there. That's why they traded him. They're like, fuck him. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers wants number 8. Fuck him.
Oh. But yeah, so guys, just imagine the like and subscribe button right here. Click it and then leave a comment.
It's YouTube. It's been around forever. You know what it is. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you.
We've only saying it like 10 times in the last 5 seconds because we said it 0 throughout the episode. So again, make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.